Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam, I'm an artist and illustrator coming to you from Dublin in Ireland. And you can find me around the internet looking for Irish farm art or on my Instagram account dedicated to this channel, an Irish knitting podcast. Welcome. If you are a new subscriber, a new viewer, this is my knitting podcast show, a video in which I try to share with you all my knitting adventures, finished works, works in progress, and sometimes acquisitions. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and all of you, please consider to subscribe. We have a change of location. As you can see, we have our post-it back on the wall and I'm back in my living room. This because the studio where I lately film, I set up my kind of filming corner, is located currently in the North Pole and is bloody freezing. I should probably get their room insulated, but it's on the back side of the house, so I try to heat it up as better as I can, but it's absolutely freezing. So back into the living room, nice, warm and cozy. I really hope you don't mind the lighting situation. I haven't moved all the lighting system, the ring lights around the house. I just wanted to share, sit down and show you my current progresses, also because next week I may not be able to film, so I wanted to give you an update. That's basically it. Today on the show we have 2 or 3 finished works, depending how you see them. We have a couple of works in progresses and no acquisitions. So let's start with the first one. I think I have been bothering all of you so much for this first finished works on Instagram and here on YouTube, on Ravelry, everywhere. So here we go. Another pair of mittens. If you remember well, on my last podcast, last video, I was talking about these mittens here. These are felted mittens, the pattern that I created, and it's, by the way, now on my Ravelry page. You just have to look for, I think, felted mittens, but every link is going to be down in the description below. I made this pair of mittens about a month ago, right after Christmas, and I instantly fell in love with them. I saw on in a sport shop a pair of mittens very similar to this one, made with what is called boiled wool. Now I have no idea what boiled wool is, what type of process it entails, but they felt to me as they were felted wool. So the brand is a very famous brand, sports brand, at least in Italy. And these mittens, although they were gorgeous and beautiful and warm and cozy and everything you want from a pair of mittens, they were bloody expensive. We are talking about 130 euro, if I'm right. I couldn't really, I can't say afford them, because I probably could have, but I couldn't justify them for a very simple pair of mittens that I could eventually make myself. So I went home and I had the urge of casting on these mittens. I cast them on and they turned out absolutely gorgeous. Now they are felted, so the process of felting means that it's a bit of a magical process in my mind. I'm gonna felt everything from now on. You put them in the washing machine and they become teeny tiny, small, this small. Like this mitten here was child size after felting, like really, really small. As much that I was really doubting the fact that I could probably work on my hand. I was that close of throwing them in the bin and starting again. The process of felting is something I do not have much control on. I'm not as experienced as I probably should if I want to make a felted mitten pattern. But turn out that even with the mistakes of over felting them, they became actually what I was looking for. So after I got them out of the washing machine, they were tiny. What I've done is taking a sock blocker, and I happen to have these big sock blockers made out of acrylic or plastic, and they are from, I would say, Knit Pro. Very cheap, you can find them everywhere, but whatever sock blocker you have or plank of wood shaped like a rectangle basically, I started stretching them over the sock blocker as much as I could, putting stuffing into the thumb piece so that I could actually stretch that as well. Stretching, letting them dry over the heater, the radiator, and they actually loosened quite a bit and they became the right size. As it happens, this sock blocker here is my perfect hand size, so I was lucky on that point of view. If I didn't have this sock blocker, I probably would have needed to stuff them a lot with newspaper or other things, just to bring them to the size that I wanted. Something that I understood with this felting process is that never mind how much you felt the mittens or your piece, your knitted thing, you can always stretch them. The felting process brings the wool together so much that even if you stretch them, it's gonna stay nice and thick all over. I don't know if this is making any sense. If there's anybody that is an expert in felting, please share your resources with me or your tips of wisdom, because I'm eager to learn. I really enjoy the process of these mittens, the felting of them, the stretching, the sizing, that I'm really eager to learn more about this. But I mentioned that this is a pattern that I publish in my Ravelry page. And what I've done in that pattern, I've laid down the instructions exactly how I did the felting, so the process that I used. So eventually, if you follow those instructions, the degrees of felting, the timing and so on, you may have the same result. So a very small over felted type of thing, and then you stretch it out to the size of your hand and it's absolutely perfect. Note that I have been using this pair of mitten with the white stripes for quite a while. It's been like a couple of weeks. Using them almost on a daily basis. I use them to go out and about in the city, to go running as well, and just for regular outdoors use. And living in Ireland, two things I've noticed. One, they are windproof. There's no chance anything comes into this mitten. No wind, no cold, they are extraordinarily warm. The second piece is that they are somehow, I don't know why, I don't know how, they are waterproof as well. They don't get damp. I went out for, I think it was like a night out or something, and it was rainy a lot, and these weren't wet at all. As much as when I came on, I took them down into the sink and I tried to get them wet, and I could see how they were kind of repelling the water. I think it's probably the felting process on them, I have no idea. But it is what it is. It's very good. Like, you can get them wet, of course, if the water is warm, or if you get a direct jet of water on them, so they get a little wet. But if you go out on a rainy day, they are completely fine. So let's talk about the one that I actually finished this week. These were the second prototype of mitten that I made, and I wanted to experiment with them a little bit. The first thing that I wanted to experiment with was the thumb gusset. So in this pair of mittens, I didn't use a left and right thumb gusset. I just did one type of mitten, and then the second type, the second hand, the right hand or the left hand, was knitted exactly the same. And the shaping of the gusset in the two became after shaping them after the felting. So now we have undoubtedly a left and a right one. I've done the same here in the end, but I really wanted to experiment with getting a left and a right thumb gusset and a left and right thumb. At the end of the day, I ended up ripping them, unraveling and casting them on exactly how I did the first pair, because I think A, it's much easier, and B, it's the result is absolutely the same, and it's nice and gorgeous. The final pattern has been written in one system only, so you only need a pair. You only need a right mitten or two right mittens or two left mittens. You only need one shape. The thumb is actually on the lateral side, and it will get slanted in the middle as you shape them, putting them on and blocking them. The second thing that I wanted to try was actually the size. I wanted to give a couple of sizes, and I ended up writing down 3 sizes. You can see there's quite a bit of a difference between the two here. This is a smaller circumference and a smaller length than this, so you get the possibility of knitting for different hand sizes, different people, and so on and so forth. Now, because I only have this size of blocker, and I was very lazy in getting my stuffing properly and shaping them properly, they turned out to be almost the same size width-wise. Length-wise, these are definitely longer. As you can see, I have about 4 centimeters. On the top of my fingers there are 3. So yeah, just a little thing that I wanted to try, and if I wrote a pattern, there are probably millions of mittens patterns. I wanted to give something more. So here we go. I'm absolutely obsessed with them. They are the warmest, the coziest, and the cutest looking mittens that you can find ever. Now, I mentioned that I decided to go for one shape only. You only need or the left or the right. There's no left or right, basically, because it's much easier. Now, I thought that this is already a lot of knitting and a lot of yarn. You see them, they are about 25 centimeters in height. When you knit them before felting, they are about 40 centimeters, so it's a lot of knitting in the round. And although the gauge is quite high, although you use 4.5 millimeter needles, and it's not difficult as a pattern, I really wanted to add something I don't know, present worthy, something that you could just knit a bunch of them and make presents for Christmas and everybody is gonna love them. That was the behind. The yarn that I use is of course Peer Gynt by the Sun's Garn. Is a gorgeous DK yarn. It's quite cheap as well, and it felts beautifully. I wanted to, and I bought actually yarn for that, to experiment with Drops Lima, I think, which is an alpaca yarn. Now, I do love alpaca in jumpers. It's nice and fluffy and cozy and warm. So I wanted to experiment and see if I could felt alpaca. I have no idea, as I never felted alpaca before. So if you have any recommendation for me on felting generally, but as well on felting alpaca, I would definitely want to learn a little bit more about that. Next week, I mentioned that I'm now going to film, probably, almost for sure, because I'm going to back home, to Italy. I'm going to ski in the mountains nearby where my family is, and it's going to be very snowy, very cold, and I'm going there with some friends with the actual purpose of skiing. So I'm gonna be out on the snow every day for a week, and I want to test them and see how they hold up in a very, very harsh environment with snow. So I'll let you know when I'm back. But yeah, here you go, the first finished work. You can find this pattern in my Ravelry page. Before we go on with the Ravelry situation, I want to address a thing. If you have any questions for me on my patterns or on my knitting generally, I check my Ravelry quite often, and don't be afraid of asking questions. But if you need something urgent, please send me a message on Instagram or an email. The email address is going to be below, or you can find it on my Instagram account. It's probably easier for me checking on a regular basis my emails because I get notifications on my phone or my Instagram account rather than a Ravelry. Just putting them there because I've seen a kind of a backlog of messages on Ravelry that I haven't gone into, haven't noticed. So if you need to talk to me, you want to ask me a question, just shoot me an email or a message on Instagram. Even Instagram is getting crazy. I am, for some reason, not seeing all the messages, but that's something that I need to fix myself. Anyway, let's go on with the finish works. And as finish works goes, I have been dragged into this as well. This is of course a frog by Claire Garland. Everybody, their dogs have knitted this pattern, and I don't know why it took me such a long time to knit it as well. I bought a pattern on a whim of craziness the last weekend, and I casted it on. Took me a couple of hours to knit up, and it was as cute as you can tell. Now, I got the pattern for the jumper as well. Therefore, you can consider these two finished works in one, because technically they are two different patterns. And I decided to knit the jumper on the oversized side. I'm gonna put some videos on the B-roll here, is it called? So you can see the frog and the jumper a little bit better. Let's put it back here. He is hugging a candle holder that my dad made out of wood, and I think is absolutely gorgeous. It's gonna live on the top of my mantelpiece over there. So, what do we think about this pattern? The pattern is gorgeously written. It's really easy to follow, extraordinarily easy, and yeah, overall, would I make another one? I don't think so. Did I enjoy making it? Somehow I did. Do I enjoy the finished work? I absolutely do. So let's address all of these questions and answer in a second. First of all, the yarn that I use is scraps of Hostgarn Super Soft in the color green apple, and for eyes I use 2 buttons. For the belly I use Hostgarn Ecru, and for the jumper I use woolly knits in the color Stormy Blue. Now, the fact that it was super easy to follow was absolutely a plus, as much as I got other patterns from Claire Garland. I got the mouse and the rat as well, 2 things that I really wanna knit very, very soon. The thing that I found tricky was that it was extraordinarily fiddly. Now, I don't know if it's just the pattern as it is, you're making a very small kind of toy thing, or if it is because I use Hostgarn. I use that super soft wool, which is really sticking together, very rough type of wool, very natural looking. So it's fine if you need a jumper, a sweater, and it's a longer straight of work, but knitting the very minute pieces, I don't know if I made a better choice for my knitting using the yarn. I did enjoy very much the fact though that after washing, as expecting with Hostgarn, it plumps up. So if it was horrible looking when he was first born, then it became a beautiful little froggy after washing. All the spinning oil went out, the yarn plumped up, the stuffing plumped up as well, and is the most gorgeous. For the legs and arms, I have no idea how you call them in English for a frog, I put inside some of the gardener's wire, which is probably a little bit too strong for the purpose of the frog. The pattern says that you can put in some pipe cleaners. I've looked literally everywhere in the surrounding shops. I couldn't find pipe cleaners, and I wasn't going to go online and buying a full bunch of pipe cleaners to make a frog. I just needed to, so that was kind of a mistake. It was difficult to get the little wiry thing to fit into the legs. I tried with bottom legs to thread the piece of metal first and then knit around. This is basically an I-cord. That really didn't work. It was very difficult to get the I-cord around that piece of metal. On the arms I did it afterwards, and the difficult part is I couldn't thread through the I-cord. Anyway, I'm happy with the result. I think it's the cutest thing ever. I probably, if I ever need this again, it's quite unlikely, but you never know, I will buy those safety eyes, because I think these buttons are okay, but they are not the prettiest thing ever. The jumper though, the jumper was a bigger revelation. It's I made it oversized, probably by mistake. I use a DK yarn rather than what is suggested in the pattern, and a much larger gauge, just because I was so tired after knitting this minute frog thingy. Then I just grabbed what I had on hand and I knit it out. It's gorgeous though, the way it's constructed. It is knitted open, and then at the end you sew a line on the back together to close it. It creates gorgeous raglan decreases everywhere. It's absolutely gorgeous. I wonder if we could have a human-sized pattern knitted up the same way. That would be absolutely amazing. You need just a big flat blanket and then you close it on the back with a nice feature of a closure for the back. That would be gorgeous. So really enjoyed the jumper, a little bit less the frog, but I'm glad that I'm now part of this community of frog knitters, and everybody is taking pictures with the frog and so on and so forth. I'm so very happy that I'm one of you now. That's basically it for finish works. Let me put my little frog back on the mantelpiece and I'll come back to you. So let's go on with the works in progress, and one that you have seen last week is this black monster here. So this is the Navia sweater with a raglan. This is a translation from Danish language. So far I have knitted body and I have started one little sleeves. So how it goes is a bottom up, a raglan sweater with, you knitted the body first, cast on for the sleeves, the underarms, then you knitted the sleeves, you join in together, piece of color work and the raglan decreases up to the neck. I suppose short rows, if not I'm gonna add them, and then the neckband. Super easy. It's probably my favorite way of knitting jumpers. If you follow my channel, you know that very well. I find, I'm gonna put a picture here, I find that the design is extremely simple but absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to get it. It's probably the first jumper that I am successfully, touching wood, knitting in black yarn. And as black yarn goes, I'm using Peer Gynt by Thin Peer Gynt by Sandnes Garn, which is a fingery way yarn made by Sandnes on the same composition of the famous DK Peer Gynt, but it is 2-ply fingery way. It's becoming slowly but surely my favorite yarn to knit. Is it surpassing Host Garn? I don't know it yet, but the fabric that it creates is absolutely gorgeous. And you know me, I like to knit my jumpers in fingery way yarn. I think they are much more useful for the weather that I'm in, and as well for my body shape. I do like my garments to be a bit less bulky and kind of fitted, so knitting with DK is always a bit tricky for me. I don't really wear DK jumpers very much. I think they are a little bit too bulky. So gorgeous yarn. The point is that it is black, so it's picking up every single piece of fluff in the room. I usually put my ball of yarn on the ground and I knit it up. I have a straw carpet. I'm pointing now because it's actually under the camera, under you, and it's a gorgeous carpet, but it releases a lot of fluff, strawy little bits that get stuck into the yarn. I never noticed this because, of course, knitting with lighter yarn, it would mask a little bit, it would be confused with the yarn, but you can definitely see it on the black yarn. I am enjoying this very much. I am enjoying the fact that it's mindless knit. It's just meters of stockinette in the round, nothing to think about, just knit through. Now it's gonna be tricky when the color work starts, but especially when the raglan decrease starts. I was mentioning this before in one of my previous videos, that the pattern is written in Danish language. which I translated with even the help of some Danish people, friends on Instagram, that I'm thanking very much, by the way. The fact is that the pattern doesn't tell you how to fully do the decreases. So I'm not spoiling anything here, I'm asking your help. So the pattern says to knit two together through the back loop on one side of the raglan, but doesn't mention what to do on the other side. So, thinking about my experience as a knitter, I think that the other side will be a knit two together. Now I'm asking you another help. This is a cry for help video type of thing. What would you do if you knit two together from the back loop on one side? What is the best decrease on the other side of the marker to get the beautiful raglan decreases? I just don't want to do SSK knit two together. I feel like it's boring, it's always the same. Some people suggested as well a fully fashioned cable decrease for the raglan, if I'm correct in mentioning that. I don't know if I like that idea. I am not really into cables this year or lately, never been probably. So I'm asking your suggestion here. What do you think would be a nice little decrease I can use for the raglan, which is not the classic one, considering that the pattern or has a mistake or just suppose you know what you would do. Anyway, this is the sweater with raglan decreases by Navia yarn. Navia is a Danish brand of yarn, I suppose, and they sell this sweater as well as a ready-made jumper to buy on the shop, made with their yarn, machine made, of course. I kind of was tempted to buy it, if I have to be honest with you, but yeah, I'm enjoying this black yarn and knitting, and I will probably do much more black yarn knitting going forward. If I have a look at my wardrobe, everything that I'm wearing is black, grey and blue. Like, look at today, I have a blue t-shirt, a black and grey top, and black shorts as well. So everything is black and blue in my wardrobe. I don't know why I've never considered knitting in black. Let's go on with the next one. Everything is falling on the ground because I'm a professional podcaster. I have thought if I should have shown you this thing that I'm not able to get out of the basket. So before I talk about this, I will do a little behind the preamble type of thing. I was watching the FiberTales Podcast. The FiberTales Podcast is a designer that as it comes from Denmark, that shows beautiful podcasts on YouTube. And she was mentioning that Lage is her name. She was mentioning that she's afraid of showing on camera her works in progress when it comes to new designs, because she have noticed that people were using their design features on other designs, so stealing a little bit. Now I dwelt with myself if I should have some of those worries, and if I should actually not show you my works in progress when it comes to possible new patterns, with the fear of someone stealing them. After a long consideration, I thought that, Lage has 10,000 followers on YouTube. She is a very famous knitting designer, very well known in the market. So Of course, people are gonna want to be as successful as her, and eventually some bad-minded person is gonna steal her designs, her ideas. Now, I don't have the talent, probably the luck of being so famous and popular as Lage is, so I came to the conclusion that I should show you this, and if someone steals this idea, fair play to them, means that it's actually a good idea. So here we go. Ta-da! This, I know, looks like a bra. Sorry for the needle clinking together. Looks like a bra. But what is it? This is a design for a jumper that I am making. Now, I don't have any drawing of this Raspberry yet that would make any sense to anybody, but I will try to explain what I'm envisioning. So, the first thing is the fabric. The fabric is a slipped stitch color work knitted in decay fabric, and for the purpose of this idea, I'm using Holst garn held double for the contrasting color and drops Lima for the main color, the gray one. The idea is of then knitting with proper decay yarn, probably Piragint, of course. But the fabric is very textured, it's very nice, it's a gorgeous little color work type of thing. I'm really enjoying the knitting of this. Now, design-wise, I was thinking of making it bottom up. As per usual, my favorite way of knitting. You knit the body and then you pass off for the sleeves, you knit the sleeves, you join together, blah blah blah. But I have thought that nobody literally in the podcasting world likes knitting bottom up, so top down it will be, to get the chance of this pattern to have any sort of success. That's what I'm saying. Because you have to take into account that a knitting pattern, even if you are a very small designer, goes through a long process and a lot of expenses. You have to hire a tech editor, test knit it, buy yarn, and so on and so forth. So if I want to have the chance of this pattern to cover at least the cost of all of this process, I had to make it as appealing as possible for the public, right? Now let's talk about the design situation. What I'm doing here is the back piece, which is shaped like this is like a big triangle with the cut-off point for the back. I'm going down with the raglan decreases. I'm going to do the same for the front. I am knitting two bra-shaped pieces, which are the V-neck and the raglan decreases, correct? And then I have joined in the round on the underarm, and I'm going to knit the body on the bottom. Now let me put this back here. So we have the back piece, the front triangles. What I want to do is to cast on a raglan decrease in ribbing. I don't know where this came from, but it would be nice to have the feature of the raglan decrease made in ribbing, to recall the ribbing of the collar piece, which will be a V-neck collar, I think, and the ribbing on the cuff and so on and so forth. Because it's such a contrasting color, having a big feature on the raglan, I thought could be an interesting design as well. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have stopped because I don't have any yarn left. I need to buy a few balls of that Lima thingy for the contrasting colors so I can go on. But this won't happen anytime soon because, of course, I'm going away next week. I am not buying yarn online until I am sure that I can actually receive the packet here. But it's gonna be kind of a longish process. I don't know if it's gonna be ready by anytime soon. The idea is to do a V-neck version with raglan decreases, and because I do like very much the fabric that is created, I was thinking of making as well a simpler one with a round boaty neck and without raglans and without the contrasting ribbing in the raglan shaping. Will be a much easier design to make, but I think the feature of the fabric itself with those slip stitches will be actually very, very interesting and I might say nice to wear. I don't know. Now I'm only doing my size. It's difficult to grade this pattern in two ways to make more sizes. One is the game of slip stitches, which you need to take into account both when you knit in the round and when you knit vertically. So that is one thing that I need to take into account when I'm grading the pattern. And then of course will be the feature of the raglan in ribbing, which in my mind as we stand now is knitted afterwards. So you knit the body, the sleeves have their own raglan decrease incorporated, right? And then you knit up, you pick up stitches and you knit the ribbing. But now I'm thinking, no, that's right, yeah, you need to share. Anyway, I'm just thinking loud. You're probably not interested in hearing all the thinking behind the design, and probably it's not clever from my side stating what I just said about FiberTales. That is not really good to go into so much details into a new design. Anyway, this all kind of paranoia in thinking what if someone steals my design made me think at the same time, am I stealing some design without knowing it? Because you know, an idea comes to your mind because eventually you have seen it somewhere in a shop perhaps or in another pattern, and genuinely you don't recall having seen that, but in your mind something clicks and you think you're making a new design while you're not. So if you ever seen something like this, if my word meant anything to you, please address me to that pattern, to that design, and I will for sure not publish any pattern with this. I will keep it for my own thing after considering everything that it was just said. The last thing I want is stealing someone else's work without knowing it. Anyway, once again, if you haven't heard about Lage and her wonderful podcast, please check her out. I'm gonna put her link below in the description. She is great. She is absolutely wonderful designs as well. We talk for about an hour, I suppose. I have a lot to do now. It's about 9 in the morning. I need to start working properly, start packing, start editing, and getting this video ready. But I am very thankful you came over today to my very messy living room, as I'm noticing, and you spent some time with me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to subscribe, give it a thumbs up. We are somehow close to the 5,000 subscribers. Would be a dream for me to get to that level of subscription by at least at the end of the year. And definitely I'm gonna run a nice little giveaway for that. Also, thank you so much for everybody that supported me on Ko-fi, I have no idea how you spell it. Yeah, that really meant a lot, meant that I can afford a little bit of technology to run these videos, to film this podcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will for sure share some photos from the mountains and the snow. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.